Good afternoon, valued shareholders. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. First and foremost, I would like to convey my deepest gratitude on behalf of the management team that we have a very illustrious lady chairperson as the chairperson of Yes Bank. And I'm very pleased to share with you that this is the first time in the private sector banks in our last many decades as an independent country that we have had the first lady chairperson in any country. It is not just a mere coincidence that a few months after her appointment, quite readily approved by Reserve Bank of India, that another leading bank did quite the same. And that bank was mentioned by Mr. Pandey in his comments a few minutes ago. I'm also very happy to share with you that the board of directors who are here in almost full attendance, other than Mr. Nanda, who is overseas at present, have naturally been guiding the bank through not just the last 1 year, but I specifically want to talk a little bit on the performance of the bank for the last 5 years, because these last 5 years marked what I presented to you 5 years ago as version 2.0 of Yes Bank. The second phase in the life cycle in the evolution of Yes Bank. Naturally, the last 5 years have been rough and tough. And for this, naturally the credit goes to a very large extent to the board, but equally the leadership team who's on this dais, some of our top leaders who are here, our Chief Risk Officer, Ashish Agarwal, our Head of HR, Mr. Kapoor, our Deputy CFO, Jerry Meyer, Rana, our CFO, Shettigar, Company Secretary, General Counsel, Secretary India, Sanjay Balme, who heads our foreign businesses, who left HDFC Bank 3 years ago. We had our retail banking businesses, and Dev Malia Dey, who was heading government finance and management governance. There are many other leaders here. Naturally, we have full attendance of our top management, and I'm very happy to see that their fervence, their commitment, their intensity and passion is showing up not just in this meeting, because for them, Yes Bank is a baby, their baby, our baby. And naturally, if somebody is taking pot shots, unreasonable pot shots, is throwing brickbats, naturally, it is only right that our sentiment, professional and emotional, be expressed in a gentle way, in a peaceful way, and therefore, I commend my team for being protective and defensive as naturally as we build the bank. Now we've entered version 3, which is a phase of action multiplied by quality equals scale, and growth equals large bank by 2020. This is the presentation, a plan which has been approved by the board just a couple of months ago. And naturally, every of my colleagues, 11,000 today, please remember we are 11,000 people. 5 years ago, we were 3030. So despite the challenges of the economy, despite the global crisis, despite the Eurozone crisis, which is still not over, despite the challenges that our own country has thrown up in terms of macroeconomic, in terms of the turbulence in the infrastructure sector and many related sectors included, 3.5 years our economy has been disturbed. It's only more recently, with change in government, we are beginning to see some green shoots. So this team, with the guidance, supervision of the board, has delivered last year as I would like to believe, a miracle year of performance. And the last 5 years, the version 2.0, I think we deserve a very good report card. And I know that this is happening through shareholder responsibility. And many people who have spoken today and many other research reports validate the overall management strength of this still very young bank. I do want to comment a little bit, Madam Chairperson, for people to understand that legal, and I'm not talking about any of the legal issues, that what is the fabric of this organization. And I'll give some credit to my late partner, Mr. Ashok Kapoor, that when he and I set up to establish this bank, the one common aspect was very clear, that the management will be headed by me. I will build the management of this bank. I will be the executive leader, and he will be a member of the board. But at the same time, the most common factor was to define the DNA, the genetics of this bank. I will reiterate this point because partly I mentioned, and it may have escaped some people last year, that the DNA of Yes Bank today, because of the divine opportunity I and late Mr. Ashok Kapoor got, was to build an institution which should be defined, simply said, as the Professionals Bank of India. So, if you see the overall character, not just these 40 photographs, the 11,000, you'll find that the pride of place, the pride of institution, the average age is 31. 103 people in top management, average age is 43. The bank is full of high-octane energy. It's the bank belonging to the people. Your bank, valued shareholders, also belongs to the people in the bank. So the character of the institution that is stood out, and this is not a family playground, right? The institutional character here is employees will build the finest quality institution of the world in India, and it's within striking distance. It's 5 years down the road, because when this vision was articulated 10 odd years ago, there was disbelief. I'm amazed in about 10 and a half, 11 years, that not only is the vision being strategized, but it is being actualized in more than one ways. Naturally reflected in the quality of the board. I mean, which bank, you tell me, and you can do comparisons, has 7 out of 10 board directors as independent directors? A management HR philosophy, because Professional Bank of India translates into like more density, right? Which has an owner-manager partner. So my colleagues sitting here, many in this hall, are as much co-founders of the bank, are as much owners of the bank as external shareholders are. So the owner-manager partner DNA, I tell you, is unquestionable in this bank, and it will go even beyond me. Far beyond me, because that's the character, and we will protect and fortify the character under any circumstances. And in this vision and in this strategy, naturally, we have 100% support of our board of directors, because they realize that what we are building is a public trust institution. You don't play around with the public trust institution. A public trust institution like ours, which has been through in these very difficult times as a fledgling young bank, has been able to demonstrate improvements in our international rating, in our domestic rating. We are now a AA+ rated bank. As you know, and we met in June last year, literally Prime Minister Modi took his seat of power on 26th of May, Monday evening. 30th of May, Friday morning, your bank had mobilized $500 million, approximately 3,000 crores with an overall global response of 5 times. So on a issue size of approximately 3,000, the global response was 15,000 crores. That's the that's the demand that global investors have, and I'm very happy to hear so many of our valued shareholders talk about the bonus issue, talk about rights, and we do need to expand our equity base, our global equity base, and therefore, as you know, one of the key resolutions today is to seek your approval for raising the equivalent of $1 billion, because that $1 billion, when it comes into our bank, will make us a very large bank in India in the next 5 years. I promise you that. One of our valued shareholders spoke about what I like to believe is probably one of the most important issues. Building a risk culture and building a risk architecture which can withstand the onslaught, the headwinds of exogenous as in like global forces, and then of course the negative economic forces that we have had to take literally on our chest as a young bank, means, and has got reflected, as you know, in our overall gross NPAs. Mr. Talia, very seasoned banker, highlighted that particular point of view a few minutes ago, in the sense that we have gross NPAs of only 41 basis points and net NPAs of only 12 basis points and overall provisioning coverage of 72%. Now that makes us undoubtedly the best quality private and public sector bank. And you will appreciate that this has been achieved by the management team with the direction of the board in the same background where many of our respected public sector banks, including some private sector banks, have had a ballooning of NPAs, have had difficulties on restructuring, and so many other asset quality issues, which I'm sure as intelligent investors, as knowledgeable investors, and Mr. Parekh is extremely knowledgeable, he spoke about that as well. So I do want to highlight that this is one of this, and this is a very long-term comparative and competitive advantage that this bank has established. I do want to add and share with you that 3 days ago, it's a matter of coincidence that the profits of the public sector banks, the top public sector banks, and right next to that, adjacent to that, the profits of the top private sector banks were reported. Your bank, Yes Bank, was number 4 in the private sector banks, so you know ICICI, HDFC, Axis Bank, and then Yes Bank. But when I moved to the left and I saw the public sector banks, State Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, Canara Bank, and I said, let me add that together, public and private together, it's a good combination. When I looked at that, Yes Bank was number 8 in the total. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to report to you on behalf of the management that your bank, as of fiscal year ended March 2015, in very, very tumultuous times, has now become the 8th most profitable bank in totality in the Indian banking sector. I also promise you that we will surely maintain ourselves in the top 10 public and private for many years to come. And I think this is the sort of vow that our management team has taken to naturally take the bank to better heights. But moving on to 2 or 3 other things to highlight the performance of the year gone by. You see, I spoke a little bit about the HR. We started this bank with a very difficult name called Yes, because the mission vision from the very inception was to institutionalize the bank. So it could not be called Kapoor ki Hatti, you know. Some banks have chosen to call it by their family names. You know, it was a very conscious decision. We will not do that because it's not good in the long-term prosperity of the bank. But the good thing is that the brand called Yes, if you see the analysis, is now one of the top 30 brands in the country, collectively. On Twitter, we are number one in the country. Number one in the country. And number two in the world. You will see the document which my colleagues have shared with you, the presentation document. I would humbly request, please take some time, because that presentation is about really getting a 360-degree view of the bank. And you will see there are so many things which are happening to build public trust, to build, you know, the pulling forces that a bank can do, in addition to the HR character of the bank as the professional bank. There were questions, many. There is a very detailed 30-odd page. I've read every question, every answer, which has been circulated, because this time, I must say, because of e-voting intensity, that most of the questions, you know, did come up upfront. So a very detailed response has been given to you. If there are more questions, please address them to Shivanand. If you do not get an answer in 5 days' time, please copy me as well. I will make sure you get a response, I promise. I think it's time for lunch. It's 2 o'clock on the dot. Madam Chairperson, thank you very much for your very valuable contribution over the last 1 year. To also Mr. Srinivasan, who was our preceding chairman, to him, to our very illustrious board of directors, and naturally, I would like to thank my star team, the best management team in India, I promise you that.